Why is it that so many smart kids eventually grow up feeling stuck, disconnected, and completely alone? They were supposed to be ahead of the pack. They were praised, rewarded, and told they'd go far. But somewhere along the line, that promise turned into pressure, and the praise became a prison. Today, many of those same kids, the ones who once stood out, are struggling as adults. They can't seem to find motivation. They feel socially behind. They have a hard time starting things, following through, or forming real connections with others. And the worst part, they can't even explain why. On the surface, everything appears fine. They're still sharp, still capable, but deep inside, there's this constant feeling of isolation, like life is happening to everyone else, and they're just watching from the sidelines. There's actually a reason behind all this. Often, smart kids build their entire identity around being intelligent. When that happens, the very thing that made them feel special as children ends up trapping them as adults. So let's dive into why this happens, and more importantly, how to undo it. Because this isn't about failure. It's about a survival strategy that stopped working. And if you understand how you got here, you can start finding a way out. When we're young, our sense of identity tends to be very simple. Kids usually latch onto one or two traits and build their self-image around them. A child, for example, might define themselves by their love for Pokemon or chicken nuggets. It's very one-dimensional, but that's normal. That's how identity begins. Basic, shaped around interests or labels. One of the strongest labels a child can receive is, "You're smart." That phrase sticks hard. It gets reinforced by teachers, parents, and classmates, and soon, it becomes a core part of how you see yourself. For a time, being smart feels incredible. You get praised, noticed. You're basically playing life on easy mode. You don't have to study as hard. You pick things up quickly. You stand out. But here's the hidden cost. When you're praised for being smart, what people are actually praising isn't your hard work. It's your effortless success. You got applause when you solved problems quickly, when you aced a test without trying, when you understood something immediately. Over time, this leads to internalizing a dangerous idea. If I'm truly smart, things should always be easy for me. That belief quietly sabotages you as you get older. The moment something isn't easy, when you struggle, when you fail, when you don't immediately grasp something, it doesn't just feel challenging. It feels like a threat to your very identity. You start telling yourself, if I'm really smart, why am I struggling? Instead of leaning into difficulty, you start avoiding it. You don't raise your hand unless you're absolutely sure. You don't play games unless you know you'll win. You don't chase interests that might reveal you're not automatically good at them. Gradually, your life begins to shrink. You stick only to what you already know. You stay in familiar territory. You protect your image and your identity as the perfect smart kid. Meanwhile, everyone else is out there experimenting, trying, failing, and growing. You're trapped inside an ever-shrinking comfort zone, and the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to step out. Eventually, you realize your whole identity is built on something fragile. You can't afford to fail. You can't afford to look stupid. You can't afford to risk everything you based your worth on, so you stall. That's when isolation creeps in. Growth and connection go hand in hand, and when you stop growing, you stop connecting. Real connection happens through shared experiences, being on teams, going through awkward phases together, working hard alongside others. But if you avoid those moments, if you pull yourself away from the experiences where bonding happens, you miss out on the opportunities that build real friendships. You don't join clubs because you're afraid you'll be bad. You don't try new sports because they're unfamiliar. You avoid group projects because they frustrate you. Little by little, you step out of the flow of social life. Yet the need for connection doesn't go away. So what do you lean on? The thing you know best, your intelligence. You try to understand people rather than relate to them. You analyze, observe, and run mental simulations. This leads to cognitive empathy. You can logically grasp what others feel, but you don't emotionally connect. It works for a while. You can carry conversations and seem charismatic, but underneath, you're drained because instead of just being with people, you're constantly calculating. Socializing becomes another arena where you can't afford failure, so you start avoiding it too. And loneliness deepens. Being smart, you think you can solve this logically. You write arguments to convince yourself you're okay. You overanalyze your behavior. But none of it helps. Intelligence wasn't built to heal emotional wounds. There's no intellectual answer to the question, am I enough? That answer has to be emotional. And for many smart kids, emotional growth is exactly what got left behind. When the loneliness gets too sharp, your ego steps in with a final defense. I'm just different from other people. I'm too deep for surface-level friendships. You convince yourself you're above others. not because you truly believe it, but because it's less painful than admitting you feel left out. This defensive arrogance builds a wall between you and everyone else. Even when you crave connection, the wall keeps you from reaching out, because connection requires humility, presence, and vulnerability. So how do we fix it? The very first, absolutely necessary step is letting go of the smart kid identity. You have to give it up, not because intelligence is wrong, but because tying your self-worth to it is toxic. When your value depends on effortless success, you will avoid effort, avoid failure, and avoid anything that might reveal you're ordinary. You'll sabotage real progress just to protect the illusion, and eventually, the illusion crumbles anyway. The solution is to build a new identity, one based not on being smart, but on being willing to grow. Stop asking, what will make me look intelligent? And start asking, what will help me move forward? Stop guarding your pride. Start embracing discomfort. Allow yourself to try new things and be bad at them. Show up, not to impress, but just to participate. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. It feels like a step backward, but it's not. It's actually the first real step toward becoming whole. Your old identity told you that your value came from being special. Your new one reminds you that your value comes from being human. Being human means being uncertain. It means growing slowly. It means feeling lost sometimes. It means not knowing what you're doing half the time. The only way forward is taking honest, imperfect steps anyway. So if you feel stuck, numb, or chronically disconnected, if you've spent your life trying to be the smartest person in the room and now don't know what else to be, this is your starting point. Let go of the old story. Stop trying to be impressive. Start trying to be real. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to belong there. You just need to be someone willing to show up, even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when you feel out of place. If any part of this resonated with you, if you recognize yourself in these patterns or felt something click, leave a comment and share what stood out. Chances are you're not the only one feeling this way. And sometimes, just putting words to the pattern is the first real step toward breaking it.